Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Poe, and today I am doing week 16 of my 2020 reads. This week I read one book which I absolutely adored, and I DNF'd another. So the book that I finished that I absolutely loved was Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. I will have a standalone review of this coming up later this week, so I'm not going to talk about it so much here. But I do want to just talk about why it's so awesome. This is a middle grade kind of science fantasy set in modern day in Miami, and it's about a boy, Sal, who is a magician, but he also actually has real magical powers, and he can kind of make a hole into other universes in the sort of multiverse and bring things back from those other universes into his own. This causes some problems though, and one of his classmates at this new school that he's going to, Gabi, is a little concerned about the magic tricks that she sees him doing and has lots of questions. She is the student council president and the school newspaper editor, and she needs to get to the bottom of it. They create this excellent friendship and they have a lot of adventures. It's got so much heart and is just such a beautiful story. Does excellent representation of so many different things, like really good disability rep, really good non-toxic masculinity modeling, so many things in here that I absolutely loved. So I really strongly recommend this, and if you want more details, check out the review that I will have up later this week. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I just want more of this. I absolutely loved it. Then the book that I DNF'd this week was The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. This is a classic Chilean literature from the 1980s, set in, I believe, the early 1900s, and it has a lot of magical realism. I'd heard very good things about this. It's a classic for a reason, and it's supposed to kind of take a feminist view and address a lot of really interesting things while having this kind of magical realism setting. I ended up DNFing this at 31%, and truthfully, I probably would have DNF'd it much earlier, except that I was buddy reading it with Priscilla from Bookie, who I will link below. I had really been looking forward to buddy reading this with her because she always has such good insight and such good analysis into everything that she reads, but I just could not handle this book. I do not think that this is a bad book. I think that actually there's a lot of skill and a lot of interesting things are being talked about, but I could not handle how graphic it was. And this book is graphic in a way that I've not seen before, where basically everything is graphic. So it's not just that it was graphic when talking about violence, about sex, about sexual abuse, about rape of minors, all sorts of really topics that are just gross in and of themselves, but it was kind of just so graphic about everything. Graphic about talking about, I don't know, poverty, just describing the very disgusting conditions that people were living in, or about illness and talking about just bodies decomposing. I mean, it was graphic about everything. And I have a weak stomach. I can't handle a lot of violence in my books. I can't handle like anything that's too explicit and gross. And this book was just filled with so much that was way beyond my tolerance level. So that is, I think, a very personal thing. Other people who have weak stomachs, I do not recommend that you read this book. But if you're somebody who isn't bothered by kind of overly descriptive things, then you might get a lot out of this book. I did think there were some really cool aspects to it. I loved the magical realism. I loved the setting. There was a lot of cool stuff in this, although I didn't get far enough into it to really understand if there is some sort of kind of feminist take on things, because in the beginning we follow some really bad toxic masculine characters, and that was very off-putting, especially the rape of minors was just excessive. So yeah, my take on this is that probably Isabel Allende is not the author for me, but I can see why perhaps other people have found her very, very impactful and meaningful. So just because this doesn't work for me doesn't necessarily mean that it won't work for other people. But yes, I DNF this. I will not come back to it, and I don't think I'll read anything else by Allende. So that wraps up my week 16 reads. If you've read either of these books, let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below, or just let me know what you've been reading and how your reading's been going. My reading seems like it's starting to pick up, but I'm still finding myself leaning towards slightly more comforting reads, so we'll see how it goes.